The president also announced that the U.S. will impose a 25% tariff on $50 billion worth of goods from China. Well, in a statement from the White House, the Trump administration said that tariffs are, quote, essential to preventing further unfair transfers of American technology and intellectual property to China, which will protect American jobs. Well, in addition, they will serve as an initial step toward bringing balance to the trade relationship between the United States and China. Scott Detrow is congressional correspondent for NPR, and he joins us now from Washington. Scott, the White House said that it will pursue more tariffs if China retaliates. China has really signified that it will. So what would those retaliations look like? And do you get the sense this is really an all-out trade war that's about to begin between these two countries?
Well, you know, over the last few months, we've been inching toward the idea of an all-out trade war and away from it. And notably, the markets, by and large, have not been affected too much up until this point by these announcements by the United States, by China going back and forth. And also, even more remarkably, the Republican Party in Congress has, by and large, gone along with what President Trump has been doing, not just to China, but to close American allies like Canada and European nations. This has, by and large, been a party of free trade, promoting free trade for decades and decades. But other than statements of mild disapproval, you haven't seen any pushback in Congress. There was a key moment earlier this week when Tennessee Senator Bob Corker, who's on his way out the door, took to the Senate floor and said, look, it's clear that we are not going to vote to rein in any of these tariff decisions that we think are bad. We don't want to do that because we don't want to get into a fight with the president of the United States. And that was one of many moments in the last few days that just showed that President Donald Trump has reshaped the Republican Party to his philosophy, even though, as was clear from the last segment, from moment to moment, sometimes it's hard to tell what exactly that philosophy is.
Do you get the sense, Scott, you know, we've always heard experts say that China could be really effective in helping with the North Korea situation. Could this affect the North Korea deal?
That's a great question. And you've seen from the early days of the administration, that first summit at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump saying, you know, I campaigned on being tough on China, but we need China as a player in these negotiations with North Korea. But so much of last week's, I guess this week's, it's a long news cycle like it is all the time.
It certainly has been.
This week's summit in Singapore, it seemed, at least from all outward appearances, that China wasn't actually playing that much of a role, that a lot of this came down to President Trump operating on the fly, as he often does, just him and Kim Jong-un. The fact that South Korea didn't even know that Trump was going to scale back war games and military exercises is one indication. So it's not clear how looped in China has been as this has moved down to a two-person Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un negotiation when it comes to North Korea.
You know, as we've been reporting, Scott, the president has been very vocal this morning about the Inspector General's report on the FBI. We've also seen him sort of oscillating between saying that the investigation blew it and also that it exonerates him. What do you make of that go-between?
I mean, that disconnect has been present so long. President Trump repeatedly says that the FBI was out to get him in 2016, that the FBI was trying to stop him from being elected president. Certainly, there were text messages that were part of that report yesterday that were really bad for the FBI, very unprofessional, big questions raised by those text messages. But when it comes down to it, in 2016, the FBI had a big effect on blocking one person from being president. And that wasn't Donald Trump. That was Hillary Clinton. Her campaign has said, you look at the polls, you can make the argument that the summer public statement from James Comey and then the late October letter to Congress from James Comey had put a big hit on Hillary Clinton's numbers in the polls and may have cost her the White House.
I want to ask you about immigration. The president said he's not going to sign a moderate immigration bill that House Republicans are currently working on. I'm curious what you're hearing from your sources on the Hill.
Well, this is the same cycle that we've seen ever since President Trump initially ended the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program back in September. Of course, that program still is in place because of court rulings blocking that decision. But yet again, you saw a compromise outline being put together. This time it was Republicans only. Previously, it's been bipartisan plans. The plan is put together. The White House signals to Congress that they are on board with the general outline of the plan. And those were the conversations this week between the White House and House Republican leaders, that they supported this approach going forward. But then President Trump seems to change his mind and blows up all the negotiations. That's happened before, and that's one of several factors why immigration still hasn't been solved. The other, of course, is that the Republican Party as a whole just isn't sure what it wants, because you have hardline factions who don't want to see any sort of legalization for people here in the country illegally, and you have moderates who say there needs to be a path to citizenship for people in DACA. And the party leaders have had no idea how to get those two on the same page, and that was clear again this week.
You know, you mentioned DACA. He's also blamed and pointed a finger at Democrats for his administration's own policy of separating parents from their children when they cross the border illegally. How does he reconcile that?
I think the facts are clear that this is a decision that the Trump administration has made and decided to enforce, that this is not something that is the fault of anyone but the Trump administration, who have made this decision. Chief of Staff John Kelly has told NPR and other outlets that he sees the separation between parents and children as, among other things, a deterrent to stop people from trying to come into the country to begin with. I think as this immigration debate has played out on Capitol Hill, you've really seen these graphic stories, these graphic images of parents being separated from children, and these centers where children have been housed really breaking through, really sticking in people's minds. And I'm curious to see going forward how that affects this immigration debate.
Scott, finally, I want to ask you about this New York Times reporting. There was an extensive report out today about EPA Director Scott Pruitt citing current and even former employees. And it says that staff members were expected to assist Pruitt in non-work matters. When asked about that, the president said, quote, that he's not happy about certain things. Do you think that Pruitt's job is ultimately in jeopardy right now?
You know, it's hard to tell, because there have been so many stories like this for months now. If reports that Scott Pruitt was asking EPA staffers to try and track down used mattresses did not cost him his job, or many other things, it's hard to see how this would make a difference. It's clear that President Trump likes Scott Pruitt. And for President Trump, personal relationships, personal vibes really go a long way, even when someone's under as much increased scrutiny as Pruitt is. And also, Pruitt is doing exactly what Trump wants, and that's undoing a lot of environmental regulations that the Obama administration put in place. Of course, you could argue that there's a lot of Republicans who could fill that role at EPA and be just as effective as unwinding Obama policies.
Scott Detrow in Washington, thank you very much for joining us, Scott.
Thank you.